Well, alright then. So I say all praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushua, Ba'Shem HaKadosh. Double honors to the apostles and elders and great builders over the well. And shalom to the whole elect.
Shalom, shalom.
I again prophesy the downfall of this kingdom, right, according to the Holy Bible. Prophecies that pertain to this book, good book as it's known, right? Hey, that even brings to mind, they had this actor Chris Pratt. He basically he gave Star-Lord gave a speech where he said, you know, God loves you or something of that nature, and it stirred up an uproar on social media. They said they wanted to cancel it. So basically showing you that, you know, America, you know, God we trust, one nation under God. What's the other mantra they have with God in it? One nation under God, God we trust. Pledge allegiance to the flag. Yeah, but basically they exalt God. But that shows you the God they're speaking of ain't the God of the Bible, right? Because they don't really stick to that within the ideals of the nation, right? And if anything, but it's funny because I listen to a podcast throughout the week. What you find is that basically religion isn't something that's big in America, though. What's big is your political stance within the world, right? And that's part of what? The beast, right? Revelation 13 tells you about the two horns, the plebeians and the patricians, which are there known as the Democrats and the Republicans or the Conservatives and Liberals or Labour. So this is all, everyone's feeding more into the system and moving away from the Heavenly Father, right? And really, they never believed in the Lord anyway, man. It served for a purpose for them to establish, you know, their rulership upon the earth, right? What scripture is saying?
James 4:4, ye adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not the friendship of the world is enmity with the Most High. Whosoever shall therefore will be a friend of the world is an enemy of the Most High. And that's the spirit of the world that's come in, that's really swept in since like more or less the 60s is where it's really picked up. When it had like certain, you know, women's lib, the free love, what's it called, the civil rights movement, to then just start blending everyone into one people. These things basically just started to push everything to where having that whole old baseline, which in America was mostly for show anyway, but having that white Christianity as the baseline was thrown out, where you now have it where it's basically just a matter of do as thou wilt. And that's the thing, that's something that had been bigged up. It's like witchcraft was bigged up, seances were bigged up, Ouija boards were bigged up, all these different practices, astronomy and all these different forms of witchcraft people get into. These things were bigged up during like the 1900s, but then it was like late 1800s, early 1900s. Then what? You have it play out to where that all just becomes like, now you're just going to be able to just do whatever you want, you know, do as thou wilt spirit, just lovers of themselves spirit, where everyone's basically just doing whatever brings them pleasure. Everyone's just making sure that they're satisfied in their own mind, man. It's justified in their own mind. And that's just been increasing and increasing. And that's complete enemy with the scriptures. As far as when you go to the scriptures, you're bound. You've got a set order. You've only got a certain limit on things you can do. And within that you have freedom. But then it's what? That's Esau's so-called liberty exists far outside those bounds. And that's why you've had that continual decay of morals, all manner of ways people conduct themselves in the modern time, man. Where everyone's got all kinds of mental issues. You've got all kinds of people are hella out of weight. Like the majority in the US, we deal with like how messed up their food is. The majority of people, they said like what 60%, over 50% are overweight, which is on a mass scale. When you consider all kinds of health problems, cancer, all forms of cancer, diseases that people have. Why? That decay is set in. The curses, man. Because they've been, first of all, Esau took the laws upon himself, then he cast them behind him. And now what? He's basically paying the price of what's been passed behind.
It's the book of Obadiah 1 and 4. And it reads, it says, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord, Yahweh. And that's basically what's happening right now. This is why going back to the time of the 1970s, dealing with 1969, dealing with Apollo 11. But when Esau went up to space, that was Sokol went up to space, that was the beginning of the end basically. And he's been on a consistently been circling the drain ever since then. Alright? Also what's happened, like you spoke about the witchcraft and everything, like you have all these women now, these harlots, they basically drink crystals, you know, checking, you know, the moon and all this type of stuff, the rising, all that type of stuff. And they're basically feeding into that energy. That's that witchcraft. Okay, why are they doing it? Because it's part of the vibration of society. Esau basically is attempting to keep a grasp on his rulership. And really, through subtlety, you're pumping out that doctrine to the masses of the people. Because they're trying to get more power onto himself. That's what I believe in my personal opinion. Because it's become such a big thing. Right? Everyone's moving more towards the beast kind of system, the image of the beast, alright? And I wanted to read this scripture as well. It's the book of 2nd Esdras 5 and 1. Nevertheless, as the coming token, behold, the day shall come, that they which dwell upon the earth shall be taken with great number, and a way of truth shall be hidden, and the land shall be barren of faith. Iniquity shall be increased above that which now thou seest, or that thou hast heard long ago. Alright? So it's going to be a time like never before. Alright? And it says, and the land that thou seest now shall root, shalt thou see waste and sudden. So the main point being that, look, the way of truth is going to be hidden. And that's what we're in the midst of right now. That's why, I think like, it says a woman shall pass a man. Right? That is a sign that's never been seen upon the earth. And that's like great liberty that people believe in, right? Even though we say, as Jake, they're fed into this shit to a T, man. Where they believe now, you know, women are equal to men. And they thought, yeah, it should be good that women do this. And they're basically feeding into the partition between men and women. Right? They're going on to the destruction and detriment of the family. Right? Nations built up with what? Families. Like even you had this guy, Kanye West, done an interview with Drink Champion, Noriega, and DJ Earfed. And he actually mentioned about abortion being the worst place for a Jake to be in, alright? Which is some heavy information. And I believe I uploaded a link, a clip years ago, maybe like 8 years ago or so, from the documentary Rafa 21, alright? Basically, that documentary explains how many people died in the space of 150 years or so in slavery, die every 4 days for abortion, right? Planned Parenthood. Basically, what Margaret Sanger wanted to do, and what you call them people genocide, Genesis, what they wanted to do, they accomplished it through Planned Parenthood, man. We have black women willingly killing their children, alright? And they say it's for the benefit of them being able to live their life, right? But that's really witchcraft, man. You caught with an okie doke. And now you basically fed into the system of destruction of your own people. And it took someone that they say is crazy, like Kanye West, to basically come out and say what? That you lot should be killing each other. You're killing your own children. And having babies. Got a scripture?
Ecclesiasticus 3:24. For many are deceived by their own vain opinion, and an evil suspicion have overthrown their judgment. And that's really the state of most people in the modern world. They're deceived by their own vain opinion. And that's the thing, it's like, it doesn't take much thinking for anyone you talk to about, what's it called, abortion. It's like, even if they're basically gonna weigh like, oh, it's better for the kids to have been, marked off than for like, a single mother raising it to be a complete mess. So then it's like, just very simply to say, well, why was she getting her pussy wet out raw? And that's a very simple observation. But it's why it's basically a thing that's like, as far as abortion, it's been put in there as like sold under the badge of female empowerment, and that's basically allowed people to eat it. Because women are basically hold to it. It's like, if you talk about any woman born after 1992, it's a fucking meme. Any woman born after 1992, like, you talk to them about abortion, it don't matter where they're from. Like, they're
I think more later than that.
yeah. It's a meme.
Oh, okay.
Women born after 1992 can't cook. Well, I'll show it to you later. But it's like, what? They're basically gonna defend it. They're gonna hold on to it like it's a sacred God-given right for them to be able to murder their unborn kids. Because as far as for them, it's they want to be able to have like sexual liberation. They essentially want to be able to live like men. Well, they basically don't want consequences to their actions. And that's the thing and that's the only it's like birth control and abortion are the foundation of what allows women to participate in society as they presently do.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if it was if those things didn't exist, they didn't have birth control, then
they wouldn't be able to
they would
go
be able to
around
hold,
and mess with different guys.
that's
man.
different guys. They wouldn't be able to hold down even a job. Because, like, say you get a partner, it's just eventually they're just gonna get pregnant unless they're barren. They're just gonna get pregnant, and then it's gonna be a wrap. They're out of the workforce for like the next year plus. So it's the same thing with abortions as well. To basically be the catch in there for in case the pill fails. But then that basically is where you get the baseline of women being introduced into the workplace, and then that's gone on to the modern structure of how women and men are now equal. And these things, and that's the thing. It's that only applies in regular society, because as soon as you go into the higher stratas of wealth and power, then it goes back to very rigid traditional family structure. The guys who have the most amount of power. That's why even you'll see with what they called, man, like actors, so-called celebrities. A lot of the male celebrities, they'll be pumping and dumping all day long.
That's your Brad Pitt. One of the guys I basically chased after, hey, this female celebrities, for example, I just saw this, I caught wind of it. Brad Pitt basically said that he's not allowed to see his children because of Angelina Jolie.
I love that.
But the main thing I wanted to say was there was even some research that they done, and they basically found out that when people get up in age, basically it was 1/5 or call them the 10 questions. There's 10 great decisions you have to ask in life. And the guy went into detail about all the decisions people went through within, the certain milestones within their life. The age of 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50, etc., etc. They said there's a certain amount of questions they ask, where it said as they get older, what people care about more when they get up in age is the relationships they have, so friendships and things of that nature, but also religion. That's what he said. He said that people put a greater bearing on religion, that's morality, right? Where they basically, ponder on things they've done throughout their life and feel bad about it. So this is the funny thing. All they have to do is that will
only run for a season.
Only run for a season, man. Because whether you like it or not, it's gonna have an impact on your morality.
Life, man.
Yeah. And the way you feel about yourself up in age, you're gonna feel like shit, man. I wish I never done that. And it's one of the main things women think about is abortions, right? That's why I mentioned all this. They think about the children they aborted, and they have men, it's a different thing. But mainly for women, it's like relationships they had, children they aborted, and for men, it's like friendships and big decisions they made. So it greatly, it greatly contrasts from gender to gender, alright? Why is that? Because, hey, you've been sold a lie. This world is basically selling you on a lie, okay? I'm gonna stick to Deuteronomy 28. Deuteronomy 28 and 56. The tender and delicate woman among you, which would not venture to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eyes shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, Jada Pinkett and a Will Smith, and toward her son and toward her daughter, and toward her young one that cometh out between her feet, and toward her children which she shall bear. For she shall eat them for the wonderful things secretly feed, and strangers wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee in thy gates. Right?
Yeah.
Say it.
I was gonna say it's the whole basically like in the West, the whole feminine role in society just existed for millennia. It's been thrown in the bin, man. And then because of that, that's why you have the present trouble. This is why you even have narratives of male versus female, mainly because it's easily monetizable. Like a lot of the nonsense that men and women get caught up into when they're young, these things are just youthful exuberance, man. Just whilst you're young, this shit plays. And that's the thing, the lie that's been sold is that you're gonna live forever and you're never gonna fall to any form of harm, any dream, any goal you set yourself in your life, you're gonna be able to achieve. That's the general baseline lie that people are kind of built up under. And then as such, it's okay, so that's how they operate. Then lo and behold, they start to maneuver in society. It seems like that for a while, especially for young women. The world is truly their oyster. A young woman can just latch onto the right guy and have access to all form of great legendary lifestyle for a season. But once they pass the expiry date, that shit becomes way harder to get. And that's the reality that's not understood. Same thing on the flip side. It's like for men, they're basically, it's like if you don't invest in like building yourself up over time, because more or less the modern like approach for men is for them to be soft, moist, all the traditional facets of masculinity is to throw them in the bin. But then, say you invest in that in the long term, they're going to work out in your favor. That's the thing, is when times of trouble come, then it's going to be like, oh, you're going to be looking for a woman who's going to be crumbled. That's the thing. It's all this it's all social constructs, man.
It's kind of funny. Okay.
It's just been materialized from nowhere. Because as far as when we go like when you get into a situation where it's heightened forms of danger or pressure, then you start to reveal the true nature, the true characteristics of people.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Now is a time of ease. Now is a time where the pressure is low. So you can have. That's why you'll have workplaces where you'll have a bunch of women in charge. You're gonna have even not even just women, just general incompetence. But shit will work out. That's why there's Esau's got the blessing of it, where everything's gonna
Shit, man. Trying to ride a fucking back straight.
But that's it. It's the whole like now general incompetence. People don't really know what they're doing. There's no. Oh, yeah. Okay. People don't really know what they're doing. They're basically as far as it seems, like things are working out. Things are profitable. It's like if you invest in stocks, you don't even have to, like, you might just if you're going for a standard fund where they're just covering a broad amount of the market, it's over the course of the last couple of years, that shit's gonna go up gangbusters. Easy. If you bought any kind of tech stock, any kind of, like a wide variety of companies, they've gone up. By and large, they've gone up. So and the thing is just because it's had success, people think they've got competence. It's not about competence. That's just been the spirit. That's been the spirit of the time. Everything seems to be at ease. Everything seems to be going well. When the trouble comes, that's when the actual characteristics of people will be revealed.
Let me read the scripture. Ecclesiastes 11 and 9. Rejoice, O young man, in thy youth, and let thy heart cheer thee in the days of thy youth, and walk in the ways of thine heart, and in the sight of thine eyes. But no doubt that for all these things the Most High will bring thee into judgment. Therefore remove. Well, that's the point.
Yep. If you basically follow, then when the time comes where judgment's at the door, you need to have the capabilities to basically get yourself through it. And that's something that's not been there's no what you call it. People don't hold that to account. In a modern time, people aren't thinking about the character of people or integrity or whatever. Now they're basically thinking as profit margins. They're thinking what they can gain. They're thinking about in the sense that Esau thinks about things, man. That's why, for the time being, everything's going good. But then what? It's like that's a very immature way to look at things. If you're not building yourself up, when the time of trouble comes, then you're making no means with which to carry yourself through it. That's the thing. It's like now, if you're a man and you're basically feeding into all the feminine energy, you're going to get a certain response to the world. That's why they have these things like drag race. That's why they've had the whole LGBT agenda getting pushed. Even though these guys on a global scale are like less than a percentage of the world population, that's the way it's been injected into all forms of agenda. Is letting you know these things are being it's a vibration being pushed out. But then what? It's when it comes to a time where there's all forms of so-called natural disasters, when the monetary system's crashing, when you have what do you call it? The MOTB, all forms of pressure coming from the government, come from those in power, then people are going to fold. And they're going to be found. They're going to be found and basically turned into ground into meal, man.
Well, that's why even now you have a lot of men. What they research is done, and they found out a lot of men basically consoling their wives. They don't have male camaraderie or companionship nowadays, and that's why the brotherhood is such a big thing, right? Hebrews 13:1. The brotherhood is it's a monumental thing. But within the world, you don't have no brotherhood. What you actually have now more is men consoling their wives, all right, or in a female counterpart. Whereas women, they found out women consoling other women, their mother, their close friends. They don't go to their partner and tell them nothing. So the way I read that is that that's a great level of conspicuous. You know what I mean? They're doing a lot of fuckery. And women are talking tough about it. Whereas men are coming and basically bearing their heart and soul for a woman, right? Which they should be doing. You should have, there should be, a father figure in your life, a mentor, someone you go to, or someone of your contemporary that what you speak to, soul is different forms of cancer, right? The book of Sirach tells you about having friends, right? But this is all being done for a soul purpose. Get one, you gotta get one.
Yeah, I got it. Isaiah 33 and 6. And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord Yahweh is his treasure. Yeah, wisdom and knowledge. That's the thing. And those are the things that you're meant to invest in. Because that's the thing. It's in the long term. What you basically put your time and energy and effort into, that's what's going to bear fruit. And that's the thing. It's if you're in the world and you're basically looking at things like, hey, I'm going to invest in my career, I'm going to invest in my wife, I'm going to invest in my household, I'm going to invest in, in traveling to all these different countries in the world, or wherever the hell. Those different investments that you're going to do is for the season of Esau's realm. It may bear fruit, but that's the thing. This is only for a season. Esau's this present realm, this present rulership is going to come to its end, and very soon at that. Then when that comes, what? People ain't going to be prepared. That's the thing. Is one of the big lies that Esau's got people believing is this place is going to go on forever. And it's funny because anyone that studies history or any form of past empires, or how the world moves from one age to the next, then they'll look and realize, yo, this place is on its way out, man.
1 Corinthians 7:29. But this I say, brethren, the time is short. It remaineth that both they that have wives be as though they had none, and they that weep as though they wept not, and they that rejoice as though they rejoice not, and they that buy as though they possess not, and they that use this world as not abusing it, for the fashion of this world passes away.
Yeah, this world's got its season, it's got its fashion, then it's gonna pass. And that's what, you look at the fashion industry, they'll have seasons. They got spring, summer, fall, and winter. You can go back and see releases done 20, 30 years ago, whatever. It's going to be a completely different time. You wear it now, it's not going to match up. Now's a different time, a different fashion. Same thing with empires, man, rulerships. You can go in the same country and then go 100 years back, then another 100 years back, then 500 years back. You're going to get all different forms of how things are operating, who was in power. And that's the thing, is people they don't educate themselves. The most they've done, they might have watched a documentary, they might have seen a movie on something, but they don't really read up, they don't really do extra research outside of that. And they don't understand historical context of who different nations were, who ruled where. They're basically just going to think, oh, Esau ruled everything, and everyone was white. You go through history, everyone was a white person, except for the mark of Cain. Them was niggas. But other than that, it was everyone was white. But then you're gonna be able to piece things together. And that's the thing, is you're not gonna understand why different nations, how one came up over another. When one people were in power, then a different nation took over. Or you might just hear the word Greek and not understand that there were people who were originally called Yawan, but then afterwards there was another group of people that came over and took their name upon themselves. These things people don't know. You don't really. It's like even in school. That's why it's like the school system when you go into what's being taught in schools, then it's a very limited particular worldview. When you deal with the school system, it's about getting you ready to participate in the world.
I got a quick place. Job 8 and 8, for inquire, pray thee of the former age, and prepare thyself to the search of their fathers.
Yeah, inquire of the former age. That's why it says what? Now blessed is he that readeth. And that's something you see on in everyday life, man. You'll have people asking for directions. Then I'm like, man, there's a sign there where you can read and see. Oh, it's hilarious.
For we are but of yesterday and know nothing, because our days upon earth are a shadow. And that's even something a lot of people don't ever, consider, because it's like you're on this earth. The year is 2021.
You know what 2,000 years old is, bro.
And even that, but then it's like, so what happened the years when I went ahead, the year before I was born? What was happening before I really understood my conscience, my consciousness set in? That's what a lot of people don't think about, alright? What history led to us being in this position that we're in right now?
Why am I even in this country?
And that's it. All these kind of questions people don't ask, right? Because there's 2,000 years, but then guess what? There's even another 4,000 or 5,000 years before that, alright? Because when you check out the history of man, it's around 6,000 years, alright? So people aren't asking those kind of questions. Guess what? They don't care. They just want to understand the moment that is now and make it the best situation.
Yeah, because of that viewpoint as well, they're like they'll hold pride in like, oh, the modern way of doing things. This is the pinnacle. This is the peak. This is as good as it gets. That's why they'll be like, oh, if we look into the past, that's just old moldy toes. And that's the thing that's complete and total ignorance. Because people, that's a funny thing as well. Because it's like even with, I remember when it was like, I thought it was like, I'll mention certain things. I remember it was like there was some shit that we used to do in primary school, and I was talking to one girl that's like 10 years younger than me, and I mentioned it. She was like, "Oh no, we never did that." I was like, "Oh yeah, shit." That's like, even with just small things, it would have been completely different. Fucking the Quan Puto. That stupid song. I was like, why the hell does it exist? But anyway, it's yeah, that's what I was like, what the hell you want children singing about that for? Just brands. But it's on a small scale, on a worldly scale, you might like I remember growing up and being like, oh, the Prime Minister was one person, then it was a different person, but then I didn't really think about who the fuck it was before until much later on. Because why? And that's the thing is, people will now just be, oh, it doesn't matter. That's that whole pride, and that's the thing. This pride and ignorance, it'll come back to bite you. Because as far as that's the thing is why things are in the state they're in. That require you require the past knowledge to make sense of it. Because that's why it's like people be like, oh, even the J population in the UK, you'll wonder why there's so many Jamaicans or whatever, West Indians. But then if you don't know the history of the Empire Windrush, if you don't know the history of the British Empire, the Commonwealth, all these different things of different construction, you just be like, oh, there's just black people there.
Job 14 and 5. Seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass.
Yeah, the bounds have been set. That's the thing is, it applies for the present time. This present rulership, there's the year, month, hour, minute, second, where this present rulership is going to expire. This is like now you can go into history, you go on Wikipedia, you're going to get years from this year BC to that year BC when these people are in power. From this year BC to that, this year AD.
That's what the statue in the book of Daniel is about. When you have different class, different films. Why? Because they talk about different segments of history where certain kings should rule over one other person. Revelation 21, and I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit, and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil, and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled, and after that he must be loosed until Caesar.
Yeah, there was.
That's the time appointed.
It's now we're in the midst of the little season. That's the thing, is people are out here thinking Esau, Edom, this present rulership, the so-called white man, is basically going to be shooting off into space, colonizing Mars, colonizing Saturn, being on Pluto or wherever the fuck, and setting up the Star Trek or Star Wars or whatever. These various civilizations just going to rule and expand forever.
And we're in the time of Proverbs 16:4, man, where it tells you what? That
Wicked was made for the day of evil.
And this is the day of evil for who? For us, first and foremost, pertaining to the curses that are set upon us. And the Lord utilized Esau as what he sword. Sword in the left-hand side of the Heavenly Father, executing the Heavenly Father's judgment on us. But then guess what? It's going to come a time where everything's going to flip turn, because that's the time that's appointed. That's as far as the scripture goes. That's why you're going to have people that are basically going to submerge themselves into society, believe they can do this, that, and other, like you mentioned about shooting to Mars, and I'd like to go into orbit on the Virgin shuttle and all that type of stuff. But they don't quite understand that is nothing. The fashion of the world passing away. That is nothing in the grand scheme of stuff.
That's boats, man.
Yeah.
Which they hold no weight. And that's the thing, is the real thing is that everything's down to the whims of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai.
And that particular thing is in what? Matthew 24 and 36. In the time, it shall be in the time of Noah. They were eating, drinking, giving in marriage until Noah went up into the ark. So it pertains to all that type of stuff. All of this, the way this society functions is that you work 9 to 5 or whatever hours is ordained to you, and then you get your off time. You get your little break where you cram entertainment. You might go over there to 180 Strand, to the gallery over there. You may come take a boardwalk along the Thames, go to the London Eye, have a meal over there, go shake a leg at a venue or whatever, but that all falls down, or you might even shoot up in space. Astro World. Yeah. You find some form of entertainment, but guess what? That all falls to that. Ultimately, the Lord's coming to judge as well. Right? His time is appointed for wickedness to run free. Job 9 and 24.
First Thessalonians 5 and 1. But of the times and seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. And that's really for the men of the Lord, for the men that have this truth, where the Spirit's dealing with them, basically been given the eyes to see. Because that's the thing, it's not like what brothers are bringing out is some secret, it is secret. But I mean, I'm like talking if you're looking at news articles, you're looking at current events, it's right not like we've got a completely separate track of news. We just have the means to interpret it. That's it, it's filtering through the scriptures. That's how you can know, this links up with that prophecy applies to this. And that's the thing, is we're seeing the same thing. You can see the war drums for World War III are beating. The MOTB, that charagma, is basically being further developed. The monetary system is being, been prepped for a crash, and it's really been in a like artificially sustained state for the longest, man. More or less from like the 2008 crash, it's not really recovered. Because it's the same issues still persist, and it's just they've basically got a method where the Fed or the Bank of England or whatever central bank can artificially maintain it. As far as for the general shift towards a more authoritarian society, that's being done in various ways, man. Like social media is being used to basically get people work them into a frenzy, more or less, to where they're just like they're all kind of bugged out, man. And that's why people are screaming for like, oh, you shouldn't be able to say or do X, Y, Z. And then through that, laws will get passed. Even it's like you had, well, somewhat recent, I believe it was this week, like the police and like I think they had a police officer that said that got convicted for raping a woman, and then this is in the same arena as with all that was going down with Sarah Everard. So you got that whole safety of women thing, to where it's like, oh, the police can't be trusted. So then what are they going to be able to bring in? Is it going to be military? Is it then going to be like, okay, we're going to have to bring in
AI?
Yeah, they're basically have to increase powers, in the government, of control over the people. That's the only real so-called safe solution.
Well, let's look into the eyes of the scriptures. Hey, they're talking about AI. Of course, they're bringing in Amazon. They're bringing in artificial.
Yeah. The palm readers, the good for a while. Now
I can't remember what in particular it was, but I saw that.
Oh, what for Facebook? Well, there was Facebook as well. Meta.
Yeah.
They said they were doing facial recognition technology. Like
took it out.
They took it
but
out.
I don't mean that it's gone away.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
and that's the thing. It might just be handed over to the FBI, because that's the thing anyway. It's like all their pictures, all the shit they've uploaded
Belongs to
is
them.
still there.
Yeah. And even if this is the thing, you had oh man, I thought this is in my mind again, man. Dealing with mention. What we not facial. Oh, robots. Yeah. So we gotta look at it through the eyes of the scriptures, because this is what it says. Watch and pray. Measure the time diligently. So everything that's going on throughout the eyes, through the news, we're applying a looking glass through the scriptures. Now, if they're saying that police can't be trusted to do their job because they're abusing their powers, that's another incentive to what? Bring out RoboCop, exoskeletons, body cams, maybe have a form of surveillance introduced, tracking systems. What does that all feed into? The MOTB, right? The corruption. So all of this stuff, if it keeps showing itself that they're not to be trusted, that's the only way you can look, that's one of the ways of looking at it, man. That guy, Captain else.
Yeah, I don't know what. I was like, I didn't really have it like that the last time we came out. It's like, bro, I don't know what, like. Anyway, First Thessalonians 5:2, for yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. And that's what people are saying, especially since in the UK. Yeah, I'm gonna continue.
Okay.
Especially in the UK, because more or less all the restrictions are done away with at present. Well, I say the UK, in England, because in Wales and Scotland, it's different. But in England, most of it's been done away with, so people are really at ease. They're able to go out, go to concerts, go to restaurants, go for cruises on the Thames. Go to a hotel and get your dick sucked. All that great stuff, is now doable. So people are really at ease.
Drink ups at what's that thing? The app you use to get places. Thingy. No. If you want to get a place today, go on holiday now.
Oh, Airbnb.
Airbnb, that's it.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to throw a drink up at Airbnb again, you can do it, you know.
Yeah.
I remember there was that video that came out where the guy, the Jakes are having a rave up in a Shub's house party in the Airbnb. And the guy, I believe, he owns the Airbnb during the COVID lockdown. And he was like, what the fuck? Like, how did all these niggas up in my house? Sweating up the walls and like, but now you can do that again. Drink cups are running again. You can go down to the docks, the roads, you know, Docklands, have your little penthouse, get all the girls, you know, the couple ads you got for Instagram, bring them over and do your little thing.
But that's the thing. That's in the meantime. That's the thing. It's not even like it's actually a piece. There's what's the term they use? They call it creeping dread, man. Where it's like in the background, you can feel it. What's it? BBC going like, I can feel it in the air. Man's in the chair, just like, what's going on? Yeah, you can feel it. Because why? It's in the background. There's too much going on. Things like, could it really be so simple? And that's the thing, is people are gonna people are gonna be brought into Jesus. Fucking
God.
throat has got super dry. Yeah, if it persists, I'll go grab some.
It's gone.
But yeah, it's